it is time to dive into the mayhem of FTX, Binance, and everything else going on in this space. We're going to tell you a little bit of a story. And I know we don't typically talk markets. We actually don't even really talk like crypto, I guess. We try to focus on three business use cases, et cetera. But I mean, this one's a big one and it's impacting the entire industry. And you're probably wondering what's going on in the markets. And so I think we just need to do a little bit of justice here. We need to explain a little bit about what's happening and just get everyone up to speed. How's that sound, Jay? What do you think?
I think that's very helpful for everybody.
Okay, so let's start with just a little bit of a background, sort of forgetting the details of what's going on. Sam Bankman-Fried, the sort of poster boy of crypto, billionaire at, before he was age 30. He did that basically arbitraging Bitcoin and its price with Japan, I don't know, years ago. Anyway, from that, he's kind of, your boy genius and this amazing financial trader. And he started a hedge fund. And that hedge fund was making a bunch of money doing some crazy trading and whatever else he was doing. And they realized that he needed more capital. If he wanted to make more money, he needed more capital. So they started FTX. FTX became the third biggest crypto exchange in the world and just like blew up over the last few years. They were sponsoring Tom Brady. They sponsor, I forget what arena it is, but some arena, sports arena in the US. They became kind of the darling of crypto over the last few years. Well, it turns out that there was a lot of shady stuff going on between Alameda, which is his hedge fund, and FTX. And who we thought Sam Bankman-Fried was is not actually who he is. And so that brings us to the last week. So what happened here was FTX had created a token called FTT. And this was sort of like their utility token of their exchange. It's actually a pretty cool idea. Binance does this as well. A few other exchanges do this. But I guess what happens here is the FTT token allows users to like get discounts and to access certain features inside the app, et cetera. Well, that token ended up gaining a lot of market cap and was worth a lot of value. And so they started using that as collateral and as essentially like lending it out to get loans to have more capital to do their trading and things that they do for Alameda. But what they started to do was some shady stuff between Alameda and FTX, where they were basically giving each other the money and duplicating and making it look like they had all this collateral and all these assets, but they didn't. It was all basically just this one token, which is essentially all owned by Alameda and FTX. So anyway, where the story really kind of comes into fruition here is last week, CZ, the founder of Binance, they invested in FTX many years ago. When they pulled out of it, they actually were given FTT tokens, and they had $2 billion worth of this stuff. Well, Binance got supposedly, Binance and CZ heard that there was some stuff going on with liquidity, and actually Sam Bankman-Fried was doing some shady stuff between their two companies. And he was like, well, FTT is not going to make it. We need to get rid of this. So he tweeted out, was it November 6th, and said, due to recent news, things that we've heard of, we are going to start to basically dump all of our FTT, $2 billion worth. Well, that's a lot of liquidity. I mean, they wouldn't even be able to sell that much, but they wanted to start getting rid of it. And as a result, when they start doing that, the price of that token just tanked completely. I think it was like 35% in like one day. Now, Sam Bankman-Fried came out and tweeted the next day and said, a competitor is trying to go after us with false rumors. FTX is fine. Assets are fine. Well, it turns out he ended up deleting that not too long after because that was no longer true. It turns out everything's not fine. And what happens not too long after is FTX stops withdrawals from their exchange. So this started to give us the vibes of Terra Luna, the Celsius, vibes that happened, a few months back. And anyway, then we get some weird tweets from Sam Bankman-Fried. Someone, was it Moon Carl, I think, says, can't wait for my FTX airdrop for not moving any of my funds. And Sam Bankman-Fried retweets that, basically trying to say, like, it's all good. Just keep your funds in FTX. Less than a day later, what comes out? All of a sudden, an announcement from both Binance and SBF that FTX is insolvent and Binance is going to bail them out and buy them and basically do it for like $1, essentially. Mm-hmm. So he was basically lying to us the whole time. Customers' funds are frozen. We don't know if they're going to get it back. We'll kind of see what happens. But it looked like CZ was either the darling and he was going to save crypto, or he actually pulled the like craziest stunt of all time, which was He bluffed that he was going to sell these FTT tokens, started selling them, which made the market dump them, which made FTX insolvent, which made him be able to acquire them for nothing, which is the most gangster move I've ever heard of or seen. Anyway, turns out that's not really the case. Let's go to the next one. CZ did address his employees with a nice letter. Basically, I'm not going to read this whole one here, but basically said, look, let's forget about the price. Let's just keep building. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. And we'll see where all this goes and how this plays out. And ultimately, FTX failing, even if Binance does buy it, it is not a good thing for the industry. It's not even a good thing for Binance. They're doing it to kind of save the industry because there are billions of dollars of assets here that are all customers' funds that are about to be lost. So this is not as much as the story has some laughter to it, because it's just crazy and just like, who knows what's going on. Ultimately, there's a lot of bad that's coming as a result of this. But anyway, because nothing happens straightforward in crypto, a turn of events last night, we find out that Binance backs out of the deal and they are no longer going to buy FTX and bail them out. So now FTX is sitting there. I think they owe $8 billion is how much the whole is. And basically all of that is client funds. And so now we're wondering, well, what's going to happen with all these funds? What's going to happen with all these assets? And then out of nowhere, Justin Sun. And if you have not been in crypto for a while, Justin Sun is the founder of Tron, which is a blockchain that still exists today. But Justin Sun was kind of big deal maybe like 5-6 years ago in blockchain, in the blockchain world. He made a lot of money with Bitcoin. He's a billionaire. He made a lot of money with this TRX Tron blockchain. And he was kind of known as a scammy dude back in the day as well, but people kind of just forgot about it. And now he's just does weird stuff. He just kind of like copies a lot of the people in crypto. It's very odd. Like he started making an algorithmic stablecoin when Do Kwon was doing it because he wanted to be the next, stablecoin. So anyway, all of a sudden now he announces that he's going to buy FTX and save everyone in FTX. So all of a sudden that news is swirling. And then this morning we wake up and we still don't know if that's true. But now all of a sudden, SBF is putting out and looking for investment. And so he's trying to basically sell FTX to others. And over this week, he's trying to figure that out. SBF has not said anything to anyone for the last 48 or whatever it is, 72 hours. Everyone's been wondering what's going on. And all of a sudden, about, an hour before we went live here, SBF tweets out and puts this 20 tweet thread basically just apologizing and saying a bunch of gibberish that really didn't make a whole lot of sense. He kind of he apologized for what he did. He said he made a bunch of mistakes. He kind of explained what those were. And then oddly, he starts to go, if we bounce back from this, here's the way that we're going to run FTX, and starts saying that they're going to be open and transparent. And he sounds like some needy ex-boyfriend that just wants, his girlfriend or wife back or whatever. And he's just begging. I got a feeling SBF hasn't slept in 2 weeks and he's just deranged and has no idea what's going on. But at the end of this, which is kind of interesting, on the last tweet, he goes, at some point, I might have more to say about a particular sparring partner, so to speak, but glass houses. So for now, all I'll say is this: well played, you won. So he's basically insinuating that CZ did plan this and was actually trying to tank and make FTX insolvent. I mean, look, if someone can make you insolvent, you probably screwed up and you made a lot of mistakes. So you can't blame CZ. He saw a hole maybe, and he went for it. It's tactical, I guess. I guess it screws over a lot of people. So was it good for the industry? Definitely not, but it is what it is. If they were insolvent, they would have, it was going to happen at some point. Right. So it is what it is. Here's my take. This sucks. It is really, really frustrating to be trying to build businesses in Web3, in crypto. And we basically have these dumbass billionaires who keep just doing ridiculous, greedy, just risky things with funds of normal retail people. And it sucks. I think I saw SBF's, net worth went from 18 billion to 900 million. So he's no longer a billionaire. The guy still has $900 million though. Right. And what about all the others that now have no money, and that's their investment? Maybe it's their life savings. It's for their kids. It's to buy a house. I don't know, whatever retail people typically do with their money. they're gone, right? And I've seen so many tweets of people who are just crushed from this, which we saw 3 months ago with Three Arrows Capital and everything. So I don't know. It's just it's a shit show, and it sucks, and it just makes this industry look so damn bad when like we're just trying to build something that's really good, and it's just we keep fucking it up, and it just sucks.
Yeah, it's such a shame. It's such a shame because we have so many amazing doers on this podcast who are building real utility and real value for the world. But this is all the media gets hold of, obviously, because this is, crazy news and it keeps on happening. How many black swan events can happen in a year?
And the thing that is really crazy about this one is SBF. He was the guy that was in DC dealing with all the regulators for crypto, trying to lead, I mean, what is debatably good or bad regulation in the way that he was doing it. But now how does this make us look? He's been face to face with politicians for the last year saying that crypto is the way and this is the good and this is the future. And then he was scamming them the entire time. And this tweet here by Rob Leshner, he says, the whole damn point of crypto is so that you don't have to say, I wonder what that company is actually doing with my money. That is the point. Yet we continue to have these centralized exchanges that just keep ruining this space for everybody. It's very, very frustrating. I mean, some weird stuff happened yesterday too. I just want, before we go on this last meme here, I just want to say one more thing. So you remember Suzu, who was the founder of Three Arrows Capital, the one that kind of started this whole bullshit. Do Kwon, actually, I guess this was probably the one that started it all. The founder of Luna that like tanked and we lost, $40 billion worth of market cap or whatever. So we haven't heard from them much in the last while. Suzu, we haven't heard from at all since everything went down. Do Kwon has tweeted every once in a while. All of a sudden yesterday, when all this shit hits the fan, who starts tweeting again? Suzu. Who starts appearing on the Up Only podcast with Kobe? Do Kwon. All of a sudden, these guys just start showing face. It's just like yesterday was the weirdest day probably in the history of crypto. It was just next level. And Gainsey tweets out here. This is so funny. He says, calling it now, Jonah Hill plays Sam in the subsequent movie made after all this shit unfolds. And there's no doubt a movie comes from this whole year. 2022 has been just the craziest year ever. And this picture of Jonah Hill is so funny because it looks identical to Sam Bankman-Fried.